Right, so normally I don't really do reaction videos, but this video kind of caught my attention, and like I said, I do make exceptions every now and then if it's, this video caught my attention. So anyway, let's go play this one. Yeah, okay, we're just gonna skip on with this one, with the, what do you call this, with this?
Guess what?
What's up? You got a million?
Right.
Guess what?
What's up? Tell me.
Guess what?
Okay.
What's up?
Guess what?
What?
Oh!
Oh my goodness, yeah, that really caught my attention to the first thing. It's kind of mentioning about us Filipinos. I myself am a Filipino, so
I don't know. Looks kind of suspect.
yeah, I myself am a Filipino, so I kind of caught my attention because it's an article or a video, video content made by Wizro. So I'm not gonna ask on that, but it's kind of mentioned something about the Philippines. But anyway, let's continue on with our reaction video with this one.
Could be an imposter. You know,
Well, not exactly reaction,
If you
but
a
more like,
baddie and you
some
Filipino,
thoughts.
this is for you.
I would like to greet you a happy birthday and I wish you the best of
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, definitely
Sorry, I'm
that's how
not the speaker straight to
I'm Filipino myself, but definitely that's how we
Little
react to
white
actual
men
things.
from the United States scurry to me like rats.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be pretty clear to everyone new to this channel that yes, unfortunately, I am a Filipino myself.
Okay.
Not a half Filipino, not a
Right.
quarter Filipino, or even a foreigner just living in this country.
Okay.
I'm 100% pure Pinoy, and I spent my entire life in this hellhole until like
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, back in the old days, the Philippines were a lot cooler. So, yeah, but I don't think the Philippines is a hellhole. It is a tropical country, and due to global warming, we kind of have, we kind of have an increase of temperature every once in a while. But it's not always like this. Well, mostly, mostly not like this, okay? So, but yeah, temperatures are very hot, and this is actually kind of cooler. It's kind of most temperatures now, even on Manila. I myself living in Manila goes now at around 45. But anyway, yeah, let's go continue with this one.
2 months ago. For a while, I
Okay.
haven't looked back from my life back home because of all its
Right.
issues. But then I found a post on
Oh.
Twitter that said, quote,
Right,
name
right.
one thing this country gave to the world. And this made
Wait a second. What country? Okay, that kind of made me think, to be honest, on that video. What does the Philippines contribute in society and in the world? Well, I can't really recall on science, to be honest.
me come back and reflect my
Okay,
thoughts
okay.
on the state
Right,
of my
right.
own country. And since almost every video I've ever made has the obligatory "Are you Filipino?" comment, I think it's time to lore
Right.
drop a little because trust me, I have some very conflicting thoughts I'd like to share.
Okay,
Now,
so what about
disclaimer
it?
that I'm no minister of culture, so
Right.
I'll just try to put whatever I can from my perspective for the next, 15 minutes or something?
Okay,
But oh
sure.
well, nothing's gonna stop some of y'all for disliking the video anyway, so
Okay, point
whatever.
taken.
Now,
Yeah.
first of all, to all the uncultured
Yeah, point
swine out
taken.
there, the Philippines is an archipelagic country located, here, I think?
Yeah, I think you're referring to somewhere a little bit up north, like this one, a little bit up north in Malaysia. But okay, but anyway, let's go.
And it's most famous for its beautiful nature,
Right.
Jollibee, mega diverse culture, Jollibee, chronically online population.
Yeah. Yeah, if you ask me, yeah, a lot of people have been heavily reliant on online. But that's the thing about the Filipinos. We all, us Filipinos, we always, well, we're kind of internet savvy, even I myself, but not savvy to the point that we are hackers. We just know our way around, in and out on the internet. But anyway, like I said, let's. Oh wait, speaking of which, that was Deme. Yeah, another VTuber. But anyway, let's go continue.
Jollibee, and names that foreigners don't bother pronouncing correctly.
In 2010, they bought the majority of Mang Nasal.
Oh, and
Oh, okay. I think that kind of depends on what kind of foreigner you're referring to. If you're referring to, a British or Australian, they might have called this Maung Inasal or something like that, or something like that. Yeah, something close to that. Anyway, let's continue.
So Jollibee. But for me, I see the country more as the epitome of missed potential. For the people ready to flame me in the comments, let's
Right.
rewind a bit. Despite being born in Metro Manila,
Okay.
I didn't live there until I was like
Okay.
15 since I spent most of my time in other provinces.
Oh, okay. I get the idea. Oh, what the hell? Okay. I kind of made a mistake on that, but
It was
yeah, okay.
Let's rewind a bit. Despite being born in Metro Manila,
Yeah, sorry,
I
my
didn't
mistake
live
on that.
there until I was like 15 since I
Okay.
spent most of my time in other provinces.
Right. So, from his description, he probably lives down south. Me, in my case, I kind of live up north, so there might be some cultural differences. I admit that. At least as Filipino, I could say that Filipinos do have distinct cultural backgrounds, especially on where they are located or where they grew up. So I myself am up north. I live in the city, so I'm more of like the Imperial Manila, is what I say, as what the southern or southern Philippines usually thinks about. But anyway, let's go.
Living in rented houses and attending multiple schools that are nearby wherever my mom
Uh-huh.
worked. And I mean,
Yeah, that's
despite
kinda like
having to
a
repeatedly
rough,
adapt to new
childhood.
environments every few years,
Okay.
life at home always remained constant. Like having to put an elder's hand on your forehead, eating every meal with rice, well, mostly, and
Well, practically, yeah. Almost all Filipinos eat rice. It's actually our staple food. But it's not only Filipinos. Almost all people on the region. Indonesians eat rice. Malaysians eat rice. Heck, even Singapore eats rice. Yeah, they also eat rice. Also with Vietnam. And maybe even up north on in the Philippines, like China, Japan, South Korea, and even North Korea, they eat rice. So practically almost everybody in the region and Asia. Heck, even Indians eat rice, but it's not exactly their staple food. But they do eat rice. Okay, but anyway.
setting up the Christmas tree the moment it turns September.
Oh yeah.
Merry Christmas,
yeah.
by the way.
Uh,
And of course, I gotta mention
Yeah, I
the
kinda agree,
universal
yeah.
dread of 6 a.m. Mondays, when the iconic yellow vans finally bring me and my snazzy uniform to school. Almost an hour later, and I'm just in time for classes to start at 7:30 a.m.
yes, of course. Yeah, that's the thing about the Philippine education system. The education system in the Philippines starts very early. I don't have any idea on other countries, but in the Philippines, you have to be there on school at 6 o'clock. I myself was a kid back then, and yeah, I had to go early because 7 o'clock was there's some sort of ceremony, what like flag raising ceremony, oath of loyalty is what you call it in English, but it's more like all sorts of ceremony things. That's not only the national anthem. And the hardest part of it is that they have to do this every day during my time. So yes, every day, believe it or not. It's not just only Monday. We kind of do it every day. So we all know if we're late because the bell kind of rings, or I mean the national anthem rings. It kind of plays out so loud you can hear it outside of the campus. But anyway, let's go continue with this one.
But since it's a Filipino school, I was
Yeah.
actually late because it turns out there was a flag ceremony that took place half an hour before.
Yeah,
So thank
yeah,
you, EDSA Traffic,
definitely.
for that.
Yeah, that is a
Anyways,
thing.
right after we finish our prayer to the big man above,
Right.
it's time to actually start classes. And the
Uh-huh.
subjects themselves change based on your grade level. In elementary or grade school,
Yeah.
you'll be taught how to read and write not only in the English and standardized Filipino language,
Yeah,
but
okay,
also
yeah,
in your
that's right.
home language. wherever that may be, because there's like hundreds of them.
On my case, this is not an issue since I'm in Imperial Manila and Tagalog is actually my native language. So I don't know on other areas of the Philippines because I never live anywhere far from the city. So maybe they have three languages there, I think. Or yeah, also yeah, one more idea. Filipinos are typically trilingual. It's very rare to see only a bilingual Filipino. So yeah, I'm kind of rare because I only know the native Tagalog and then English type. So I don't really have much native authenticity because I'm from the city. Okay, but anyway, let's go.
In high school, you'll be taught all the famous Filipino literature, the meaning of being a Catholic, aka 80% of the pop.
Okay, yeah, okay, I kind of understand that. Okay, that was interesting. Yeah, this is usually happens on Catholic schools. Yeah, but on my case, it's more like a non-sectarian government school during my I was in high school, but it still has Roman Catholic influences. Also, yeah, even on private schools. Yeah, especially on religious schools like what my sister attended. But anyway, let's go.
Meaning of being a Catholic, aka 80% of the population, and home
Not exactly 80, more like 90%. But anyway, let's go.
economics, which I fucking loved very much.
Oh my goodness, he does hate it, home economics. Me, I don't really hate it, but I was, well, just to simply put it, I wasn't paying attention during that time. Okay.
Oh, and online classes took place in my 9th grade, and it was pretty much like this.
The transmitters on these microphones are not.
Oh, okay. I guess he's referring to the recent, pandemic. Mostly high schools. Yeah, it's mostly high schools were kind of forced to do online meetings like that one. So I guess he's kind of referring to his memories like that. But during my time in high school, which was a long time ago, we don't have that. It's basically face to face. You have to, do a classroom thing. The usual stuff that you see. But anyway.
Strong, like a sure, professional ball kind, like a.
Right.
And once you're in 11th grade, you'll be able to choose a strand.
Oh yeah, one more thing
That
I would just like to tell. During my time, there was no such thing as this one. Back then, in the old curriculum, if everybody still remembers that, high school was just only around 4 years. It was only 4 years. But the later school curriculum of the Philippines kind of changed it a bit. Back then, there was only grade school, high school, and college. That's it. But now, the revised, it was made a couple of, at least a decade now, at least as far as I remember. If memory serves me correct, it was almost more than a decade now. The curriculum was changed from now it was from before it was only 3 levels. Now it's more like 4 levels, or at least if you're a Westerner, you can refer it to as 4 levels now. It's now grade school, middle school, high school, and college. So probably he's referring to Wiro is referring to 4 levels or the updated curriculum.
Changes which subjects you will take for the next 2 years. Well, except for research classes, where every group of 5 students has to
Alright.
produce and present their own research papers that correlate with their own strand, which was
great.
fun. So let's calm down a bit and talk about food. And God, I love some of the cafeteria food, man. So let's calm down a
Alright.
bit and talk about food.
Oh yeah, I do remember this. This is also existing back in the old days. Pretty much I can remember honey because I kinda eat this a lot when I was a kid. It's basically a solidified powdered milk powder, but believe it or not, it can go a few pieces of this. If you eat this one, it kind of gives you enough energy to go at least for a day because back then, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I did have a rough high school years or a rough childhood. And sometimes I don't really I kind of go to school without it was a different time back then. I kind of went to school without packed lunch, and I kind of resort to eating this thing a lot because it was cheaper. Kind of like the concept back in the Second World War, where GI soldiers do not eat regular food. They kind of eat a lot of chocolate as a military supplement. So yeah, basically the same idea I was going through in high school. And yeah, but anyway, I kind of remember this. This has been going on for decades. Everybody remembers these snacks.
And God, I love some of the cafeteria food, man. If it's Reese's, have some pandesal.
Oh yeah, basically pandesal is salt bread. It's a typical staple food, or at least as typical. If say the French has a French bread, the English has an English bread, the German has the German bread, the Philippines, well, we don't have Philippine food. We don't have the Filipino bread. But if there's next thing as a Filipino bread, this will be it. They call pandesal, or basically, if a generic term, it's a salt bread or bread of salt.
Fish balls, turon, siomai, wieners.
Oh, well, okay, I'm not gonna comment on that because that means another thing. But here's the thing, they say turon. It's actually, if you put it on English translation, it's basically caramelized fried banana. That's how I translate. But anyway, let's go. My apologies if I keep adding some information because this kind of caught really my attention on the internet.
Wieners. All these other 20 peso snacks and
Right.
fried, oh, gross. Topped off with some gulay.
Alright, I never encountered that one ever since I was I don't know who in their right mind would fry Oreo because it's a cookie. I myself eat Oreo, not fried. I just eat it out of the packaging and that's it because it's a cookie to begin with. Maybe with some milk, but not not exactly frying it. But anyway, let's continue.
Aman. When it's lunchtime, enjoy your rice with some pancit, corned beef,
Yeah,
tocino, longanisa, and the goat
Yeah,
itself, fried chicken.
Oh.
Topped off with fresh, cold Milo. But if you still have some leftover sinigang,
right, okay,
spaghetti,
right.
or adobo,
My work is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how I keep track of all my
right.
tasks.
I
start
gonna
by
cut that.
brain dumping
Think
everything
that
I
is
need
the
to get-
problem with
or as the cool kids call it,
with,
adobo, go ahead
YouTube.
and pack it up in some Tupperware as baon.
Oh,
And fuck
okay.
it, I gotta remind y'all again that fried chicken's the greatest food to ever live. And I'm especially talking about Jollibee chicken. Cause
Okay,
that
I
shit just
guess
hits
yeah,
different,
he's a
man.
kind of like I guess he's a fan of Jollibee.
And let me
Right.
detour a bit to ask what the hell adobo rice is. Because I've seen American reviewers talk about adobo rice, but our Jollibees don't even...
Yeah, this is one extra added information about this one. A lot of Filipinos refer adobo as more like a national food. Yes, that might be the case, but there are two distinct national foods in the Philippines. One is sinigang and one is adobo. I'm just saying this on my personal opinion, of course. Adobo may be Filipino, as what some others say, but if you think of it on where it originated, it's actually originated from a Spanish menu. Yeah, it might not be, it may be Filipino, but its origins are definitely not Filipino. At least on my personal, personal opinion on this one. If you ask me which is the Filipino food, I'll go for sinigang rather than this one. But anyway, let's continue. Oh, by the way, sinigang is actually pork stew or stew. It may be fish stew or something, but it's stew. So it depends only what type of meat was inside that stew.
and have that stuff. And no. Y'all also got Korean barbecue fried chicken? Bro, why are we missing out on such peak?
Okay,
Oh,
I
well.
don't idea
Let's
why
at least
Jollibee
give
serves
love
Korean
to all the
barbecue
other local
because,
food
well,
shops
it's
out there.
Korean.
And especially the fan favorite.
Meng ay nasal.
Now that school's
Oh.
over, it's time to head back to the
Yeah,
school
yeah,
bus and
okay,
await all the chica or gossip that's been brewing for the past week. May jowa
Right.
pala si Miss La Forteza? Isang YouTuber pala si Juan de la Cruz?
Yeah, that is actually part of Philippine society. Since well, back in the old days, there was a lot of unemployment in the Philippines. Yes, so people they kind of use it as more of an entertainment on gossiping other people's lives or guess gossiping on any other's detail. I myself, I'm not a gossiper. I kind of dislike it. But back then, that was and back then and until now, there are still people who are more Filipinos are more intrigued in gossips of everyday people rather than so anyway, gossips are in some ways could be bad. In some ways, believe it or not, it could be good. In fact, if there is only ever a good thing I could think about why should exist, it's because it's more like a surveillance thing. Yeah, believe it or not, I am not joking. Surveillance gossip is more like a form as well as surveillance. So you can see your neighbor doing something funny or doing some say terroristic acts. Expect that gossipers will even know it first than any intelligence agency in the world or even Philippine law enforcement. Yeah, that's how bad gossips socially are in the Philippines. They always talk something at your back, especially in Imperial Manila or in Manila. I don't know what other areas of the Philippines, but yeah, gossip is really an issue. Anyway, let's proceed.
Merong bagong transferee na Koreano at pogi? At, ay nako, nag-cut class si Carlos na naman para lang mag-ML sa bahay. As you can see, we Filipinos love our gossip, for better or for
Yeah, he's kind of right at that. For some reason, Filipinos have a habit of they kind of really love gossip. Personally, I'm not a fan of gossips. I kind of, in fact, exactly the opposite. I kind of dislike that because well, I just don't really like talking with I just kind of like I kind of just dislike talking on and getting involved on other people's lives. So yeah. But anyway, like I said, let's continue with this one.
worse, since we love being social and treating each other like family. And I think this connects to
Right.
how dominantly Catholic and Muslim the people are, because these religions are strong believers in traditional family and friendship, and have influenced much of our culture, language, architecture, traditions,
Right.
and holidays. And I think it's great to have both Christian and Muslim holidays, because that means I get more days to relax after the hell of finals week. And by relax, I mean attending the debuts of rich friends and attending concerts of the few celebrities who know what this country even is.
Alright, okay, yeah.
Okay, but for real though,
right.
the way to actually relax after a stressful semester is to wind back and enjoy our scheduled lakwa to the new mall that had just been built and...
Oh yeah, yeah, that's one thing unique about the Philippine culture itself. Yeah, that's also one thing that caught my attention. Filipinos do love mall going. Yeah, believe it or not. And in fact, if I recall correct, I've been living, well, not exactly living, but I've been to other countries before. Malls in the Philippines are definitely huge, as in huge, compared to other countries, even on Western ones, compared to, say, in Europe. I've also been there. The malls weren't really that big. And also in the United States, they also have malls there. But the reason here is this. The reason why Philippine malls are big because it's not only as a shopping area. It serves also. It's more like a dual, a dual purpose thing. It also serves as an entertainment center for Filipinos. So it's kind of packed in all that thing. That's why they had to make it big business wise. So yeah, generally speaking, Filipinos do love going to the mall.
Jesus Christ. God, Manila is so beautiful where all the cool malls, churches, museums, beaches, restaurants, NFT burgers, and celebrity concerts are. And everything is so cheap too. Like only $5 is enough to eat for the whole day.
Okay, yeah, okay. He does agree. I do agree on that. Everything is cheap in the Philippines, but the problem is if you have the money, it's definitely cheap. But if you don't have the money, that's gonna be an issue. Yeah, I do agree. That's gonna be an issue.
And not to mention all the other beautiful landmarks, wonderfully nice people, and the eye-catching capital itself. Who wouldn't want to stay in my country? Well, me. I didn't want to. And I
Okay.
left the Philippines months ago because, well, I lied. There's been so many videos I see that glamorize the country, YouTubers who say how amazingly cheap it is,
Oh,
konyo,
okay.
or wealthy English.
Yeah, that's actually the thing about the Philippine society is portrayed in social media. There are few social media contents that actually tell a more grounded Philippine experience. They mostly tell it is something about propaganda. So if you're not a Filipino, you can't really tell the difference because it's mostly propaganda thing. But of course, I do understand that I had to portray it positively because they want to get views. But the thing here is that most social media content, at least the social media content that is going around in the Philippines, is not exactly how do you call it? It's not exactly grounded. They do not feature a more grounded and more balanced thing. It's always to the point that it's always portrayed as more like a propaganda thing. But yeah, he's a good observation in that. I myself kind of realized that because I've been doing a lot of social media recently. So any information that I came up with in the Philippines about the Philippine society is mostly portrayed positively. They don't at least say or more grounded or sense of realism on what the society should be. But anyway, let's go.
Speaking vloggers who share their lives in luxury malls with fucking labubus and
Okay. Yeah, one more thing I kind of forgot. Coño is actually in Spanish word, which is kind of how should I say it? Let's just say that it's not a very nice word in Spanish, but in the Philippines it's more like a middle class insult thing. But in specifically in Spanish, it's more than an insult actually. It's more like anyway, I'm not gonna go into details. I'll just let you figure it out. So let's continue.
matcha lattes, tourists who only see the handful of clean beaches, and commentators who think our country is absolutely thriving or completely done for. But guess what? It's actually none of the two. And we actually have so much potential despite all the issues we have right now.
Right.
Every single word I've said so far in this video is just from my perspective. From someone lucky enough to have a decent education in and out of the capital and have enough money to leave the damn country.
Okay.
Wonder why
Right.
everything doesn't cost as much? Probably because everyone's not getting paid much either.
Okay, yeah, he's actually right on that. Yeah, the daily minimum wage salary here in the Philippines is not that high. It's and this is updated. This is actually an actual minimum wage salary, and in some cases, some people don't get paid even this high. So, yeah, to simply speaking, to simply speak it, the Philippine society, there are a few middle class people. There are very few and ultra rare well-to-do families, and a majority of Filipinos live almost on the poverty line. And that's not a great picture, I'll be honest. Yeah.
Jollibee, despite being a national treasure of mine, is unaffordable for millions of people. And hell, even my private school's teachers admitted to not being paid enough to live.
Oh yeah, this is actually true. Yeah, some of my relatives are actually 25,000 per month is actually already generous if you're but that's the main thing about in the Philippines. The problem in the main Philippines is that especially if you're working, you work hard enough, but people here tend to be stingy, or your employers here tend to be stingy. How good was this? They had a lot of labor issues to begin with, but this is actually ingrained in the Philippine society itself, where the law, instead of protecting the workers, they kind of protected more of the employers. So as an effect, People don't, workers don't get paid what they should be paid. I'm not saying that workers should be excessively paid or be more like a utopian thing. That's a big difference. What we're asking is that a fair one, a fair people who work it on the fair wage. But I guess that's the problem also on the Philippine society. The Philippine society, it's not really bad at all. It has natural resources. It has a labor, manpower. Yeah, that's a fact. That is 100% a fact. But when it comes to natural resources, we have no natural resources that the West wants. To be specifically oil. And that's where the Middle East comes in. But anyway, other than oil, the Philippines, I could say, is rich in natural resources. But that's also the problem. The problem in the Philippines is not exactly the natural resources, but how people behave, how the way they manage society, how the way they manage their leadership, everything that is human factor related. That's where the problem begins. But anyway, yeah, let's. This is kind of that's one thing that caught my attention on this video. But anyway, let's hear what the Wizro has to say with this one.
Live comfortably, even with their master's degrees in education.
Yeah,
being
okay.
forced to take public transportation through the hellish traffic of the city every single day.
Yeah,
I mean, it is pretty
right.
easy to clog roads when you can just buy your driver's license.
Yeah.
But I ain't judging. And those with decent money are probably already planning to leave for a better country.
Yeah, okay,
I mean,
yeah.
it's not just our massive diaspora population. Ask some
Right,
of our
right.
rich Nepo babies and they'll tell you.
Anonymous Pinoy
Well, the main reason because why people are going out is because of poverty. There are not enough jobs to go along with here in the Philippines. And you know, here's one thing that is not even tackled in society in the Philippines. At least on the macro level. I'm just saying this on the macro level. But of course, we are too preoccupied as a migrant worker to even notice this. I myself am a migrant worker. And yeah. Now, and being a migrant worker or being an OFW is what I call it here locally in the Philippines. The economic system here, being migrant worker, yeah, it keeps you afloat financially, but it does not create jobs. That's the thing about the Philippines. In other words, the Philippine economy is stagnating. It keeps us, we kind of brag about it that OFWs or migrant workers always brings in the cash. Yes, that is correct. But the Philippines is not sustainable because of those remittances from migrant workers. It only kind of patches up a bigger wound. It's a small patch. And this economic system was created during the dictatorship in the Philippines, which is the Marcos era, where the Philippines was suffering a severe recession during that time. That the government authorities kind of think of a patchwork plan just to save the economy. Well, it did save the bleeding, but it left the Philippines up to now stagnating because of that kind of system. And up to now, that's kind of funny thing because you see it culturally in the Philippines. They patronize migrant workers, yet the Philippine government doesn't exactly acknowledge them. And they even said it officially that the Philippines, they do not see migrant workers as a sustainable growth. Yes, this is recorded on the the government office that handles migrant workers, POEA and OWA. They kind of said that it's not a priority of the government. The priority of the government is to create jobs. It may keep us afloat, but the problem is on that kind of system is that the Philippine economic system is stagnating because of this one.
confessions. I have a friend, si Jeremy. He is a party goer. Because of his
Alright.
partying, he met very affluent and wealthy people.
Alright,
I asked how their
okay.
parents became wealthy. Ang sabi sa kanya, the way they got rich is through infrastructure projects. They tripled the prices of materials
Oh my
on paper
goodness, what the
to
hell
receive
was
more
that?
budget allotment.
Okay,
Purchase
right,
substandard
okay.
materials and
Yeah,
pocket the rest
okay,
of the
okay.
allocated budget.
Yeah, that's also one issue in the Philippines. Extreme government corruption. It's more like profiteering and skimming off funds, government funds. If you would say me, it's more like bad and worse. We kind of get rid of one who dictated back in the past, But in replacement for that dictator, the dictatorship kinda, or the oppression kinda got decentralized, and we got, multiple leaders doing the same thing what the dictator was back then. So if you ask me, the Philippine society is more like a feudal at the moment, or at least the Philippine society is more like a crossbreed between a democracy and a feudal medieval state. We got factions here and there. Yeah, and this is a fact if you could observe it. Now, on paper, the Philippine society is a democratic one, but not in any way. Not in any way as like in modern democracies are. It's not democracy like in the United States. It's not a democracy like you see in Europe, and it's not exactly a democracy like you see in Japan. So pretty much, yeah, I could agree that the Philippines is more like a medieval European feudal style kind of stuff, or feudal Japan type of government, where your local leaders are basically your feudal lords. So anyway, let's continue.
I asked if the kids were aware of the ongoing corruption scandals happening in our country
Right.
and the heinous
Okay.
actions that their parents have done. Ang sabi ni Jeremy, bro, they don't give a fuck. I
Oh,
asked
okay.
Jeremy kung natatakot ba sila na
Right,
ma-expose sa
right.
media. Ang sabi niya, all of them have already moved away to Europe and the US. And most
Okay, that
remain
was a pretty
very
smart move
anonymous.
because in Europe, if
And
you
if
are
you
a
think
criminal
our
in the
desire for
Philippines,
foreign countries is just economic, think
oh
of
yeah, one more thing. If you're a criminal in the Philippines and you decided to move in Europe, guess what? The Philippine government doesn't have any extradition treaty to bring back those criminals. So if you've done a really, really bad thing in the Philippines, the best place for you to run as a criminal would be going to Europe. That is if you got the cash, but if you don't have the cash, you're pretty much stuck here in the Philippines. But here's the thing: most elites are the ones who's doing high society folks are mostly the ones who kind of escape, and they kind of not the pretty crime things. But anyway, let's continue with this one.
again because it's also ingrained in our culture too.
Okay,
Now,
yeah, he's
you know
right
how
on that.
some people are known for being a bit too proud of their country? I mean, look at
Yeah,
how some
yeah.
Americans treat their own damn president.
Yeah,
But the
okay,
Philippines
yeah,
has
understood.
the opposite problem because many people here have the quote colonial mentality.
Yeah,
AKA
yeah, sure.
preferring the culture of the countries that colonized us.
Yeah, I concur
Some of you
with
may
that.
be confused because I talk to a Filipino and they're proud of sharing their dearly beloved Jollibee. But outside of speaking to foreigners, chances are the urban youth would prefer foreign music, language,
Right,
religion,
right, okay, yeah, I
politics, and
agree on that, this
education,
one.
while being oblivious to their own country's issues.
What's your thoughts on the flag control issue?
I think it's not safe for work.
Okay, this girl is kind of too, what do you call it? Yeah, they kind of call it not safe for work, but actually, he's kind of making a wrong reference on that. Not safe for work is mostly related to porn, so not exactly on government projects, and not exactly the type of, how do you say, the occupational hazard kind of thing. But anyway, yeah, let's continue.
Answer. I think it's safe kasi like UST is part ng rally naman. Pero right, because I cannot.
And I'll admit that I'm under this umbrella too. I make videos on Western topics,
right.
speaking pure English while listening to whatever this is. And just 2 months ago, I moved out, finally free from my Filipino-American identity crisis, which makes
It's not exactly an identity crisis. The Philippines was basically a former colony. We got colonized by, after Spain. We got colonized by well, actually, we got colonized by multiple colonizers, to be honest. We got colonized by Spain. We got colonized by the British, although nobody remembers that because it was just only 3 years. After that, Spain, we got colonized by the United States, America. Basically, they stayed there for at least 33 years in the Philippines. And we got colonized also by Japan during World War II. But that was a short thing, just like 3 years. But the largest or the longest time we spent with being colonized is America and Spain. Spain was for 300 years. America was for around, 30 years. But on those time, the Filipinos kind of adapted several parts of Spanish culture and even American culture, so it kind of blended in and made it something new. That's why it's called the Filipino culture, because it's a mix of those colonial things. But colonialism may be 80% bad or 90% bad, but there are some things that are actually good about being being colonized, because we get some form of we get something in return, although very little, like say our system of laws, our system of society, although that's a bad thing in general. We still get a lot of stuff out of it. But anyway, let's continue.
The entire
Oh yeah, unfortunately, society-wise, that's also a problem. Yeah, that's what he said, because even on labor, most Filipino laborers, they don't disagree with foreigners for some reason, because that's part of the colonial mentality. They see themselves as not as equals, but we see ourselves as Filipino lessers than those guys, which is a problem. But anyway, let's go.
concept of Pinoy pride feel a bit insecure, don't you think?
Well, not exactly insecure. Okay, this YouTube thing is really getting on my nerves.
How could people claim to be
Right.
proud and nationalistic while also being attracted to foreign cultures? The answer to this lies in the weird state the country is in right now. Because
Right.
while the Philippines is home to truly unique cultures, traditions, and landscapes,
Right.
living in the country is a mess with lacking education, low wages, and high poverty rates.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's basically summarizes the Philippine society in general. Those three things.
And you know what happens when you have a large population of poor and uneducated people?
Yeah.
Yeah, they elect a former dictator's kid in a landslide and allow politicians to run the most egregious, shameless banner spamming I have ever seen.
Yeah, he's kind of right on that, because that happens every election. And guess what? That's only at the tip of the iceberg. The overall problem with it is that the political dynasties, like I said, the Philippines is more like a feudal system, mixing up in paper is a democracy, but it's actually a feudal system. These politicians are basically the relatives of the former politicians who were in office. It's either the son, the cousin, the aunt, something like that. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's the problem. And what's worse with it is that it's kind of like a feudal monarchy noble thing, but like I said, it's a medieval system.
Combine all this in a country with typhoons and earthquakes every week, and you have an absolute fiasco. And this is the big
Right.
reason why I'm mostly quiet when talking about my nationality.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm not proud to knowing how many issues it has despite being rich in natural resources.
Yeah, the Philippines isn't exactly a perfect world. Yeah, I'll be honest with that. It's far from perfect. It's not utopia, okay? But everybody in the world's nation is not a utopia. But here's the thing: the Philippines is not exactly a hellhole either, because there are some countries on the world out there, and I am saying this because I've traveled as well on the world. I've been to many places, and the Philippines, as bad as it was, it's not a hellhole, and there are some places out there in the world, there are much worse state than in the Philippines. At least in the Philippines, yeah, there's a lot of disorder. But I've been to other worlds, other nations in the world, like South Asia, where, well, let's just say their culture is very different, and they're kinda problematic when it comes to hygiene. The Filipinos still have a sense of hygiene. But anyway, point here, and especially in Africa, if you compare it to Africa, the Filipinos is way different than those nations there, in particular Central Africa. But anyway, let's go with this one.
This country could be so much more, but all it can show at the moment
Yeah, I
are
agree.
glimpses of progress with help from foreign companies and those random street interviews.
Yeah,
crown
okay.
logo.
Yeah, the Philippines has potential, but
Relax.
somehow that's the
With all
problem with
this
the
said,
Filipinos.
I
They
can
waste
finally
the
go
potential.
back to this tweet and answer the question
Right.
in hand. Because in all honesty, this country gave a lot. Remember that this country is 7,000 islands full of culture and traditions.
Yeah.
And the mainstream shit you see on Twitter only scratches the surface of it.
Oh,
Even if a
right.
lot of Filipinos aren't happy with the country's current state, many of them are still proud enough to share their country with foreigners. Even I myself would smile when the waiter taking my order is Filipino. And I think this
Yeah.
perfectly describes
Yeah.
what Filipinos are. Resilient. Even with all the bullshit going on, even with all the drawbacks we face, we still want to
But here's the thing: we're resilient not because it's our ingrained on our society. We are resilient because there are no other options left. And well, if we're so resilient, why we have to go get out of the country? I myself got out of the country and traveled, right? The main reason is because we are resilient because there is no other options left. We have to be practical on that. It's either we go resilient or we go into ruin or in destitution because of that thing. So, yeah, I don't exactly say that it's a positive trait. I don't exactly say it's a negative trait. So, I'm just saying that it was a practical choice for us as Filipinos to be resilient.
declare that we're Filipino and we're not
We're practical choice because out of necessity. We're resilient because out of necessity, not because it is ingrained on our culture.
going to give up so easily. I sincerely hope that the country could one day improve and be rich enough to bring its workers back. But honestly, I understand that it's a bit too optimistic.
Yeah,
But,
he's right
oh
on
well.
that.
We can only dream.
Yeah.
Oh, and this country also gave the other Miss La Forteza. That's pretty gnarly too.
Stay there.
Oh,
Hey, man.
right.
Pangit ang pangalan mo,
Okay, so yeah, that will conclude our reaction video on that. But he does have a lot of points in that. The Philippines is not... It's really bad in the Philippines, to be honest, compared to what foreigners say. If you're an actual Filipino who were born and raised in the Philippines, such as myself, the Philippines is bad in general. But it's not a hellhole. It's not something that you will not. If you play your cards right and if you made the right decisions in life, the Philippines is actually a nice place to live with. It's not as advanced or it's not as comfortable as those first world countries like in Europe, America, or even Japan, or even Singapore. But the good thing about the Philippines, it has its freedom. We may not be, the Philippine society may not be perfect, yes, but compared to, say, in other parts of the world like Central Africa, the Philippines in the sense has a sense of order. But the problem in the Philippines is a lot, and I do not, as what he also said, I do not think that the Filipinos will be able to solve this problem within a lifetime. Probably maybe give us around 100, 200 years, give or take, we may solve this one. But at the moment, I don't see those problems to be solved by the Philippine society. And the economic system also in the Philippines is in shambles. We're still relying on manpower and labor, considering that it was more like a patch-up, desperate plan just to save the economy back then. Now it became more like the mainstream economic backbone of the Philippines. So until then, we're still hopeful anyway that someday the Philippines would make the recovery. But from our takes a look, it will not be anytime soon. So anyway, I'm not gonna keep on longer. I've already stayed enough on that reaction thing because it kind of really caught me my attention. Like I said, as a Filipino, I myself am a Filipino. So yeah. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you soon. And we'll see you around on our next video. Cheers.